Lamine Yamal, 19 years old. Today, he's Spain's biggest star, the leader of the world's most loved team. But this kid is actually the child of an immigrant family. He grew up in Rocafonda, a poor immigrant neighborhood in Mataró, and that 300 he makes when he scores is the last 3 digits of that district's postal code. His father is Moroccan. His mother is Equatorial Guinean. He had 3 national teams standing in front of him. The real tug-of-war was with Morocco, who saw him as one of their own for years and pushed hard to win him over. Word has it big offers were made to his father, and coach Regragui even flew to Barcelona to convince him. But Spain moved first. Under FIFA rules, if a player hasn't played 3 official matches, he can still switch countries. To shut that door, Spain called Yamal up to the senior team while he was still a teenager and locked him in with an official match, snatching him out of Morocco's hands at the last second. Had that call come a little later, the kid who won Euro 2024 could today be Morocco's number 10 under a completely different flag. The next name did the opposite. He used the country that wanted him while hiding his real dream somewhere else. Raphinha, 30 years old. Today, he's one of Brazil's most important attacking threats at the peak of his career at Barcelona. But very few know this. This man holds an Italian passport. And at one point, Italy came calling. He grew up in Restinga, one of Porto Alegre's toughest favelas. His Italian roots trace back to his father's side. The surname Bilali follows the family line that moved from Italy to Brazil. While climbing through Europe, he used that passport not for the national team, but for a practical reason, to dodge the foreign player limit at European clubs and move more freely between teams. It wasn't identity. It was a tool. Then Italy came knocking for real. Word has it coach Mancini made him an official offer, telling him he could be the attacking leader of the Euro 2020 champions. Italy was short on goals and Raphinha could have been their answer, but he turned them down flat because he only had one dream, to wear the yellow shirt. He held on to Italy's passport for years, but when it came time to actually play, he turned his back on them and picked Brazil. Italy became the side that God used and dropped. The next name didn't leave anyone hanging. He turned down the offer at his door right away and headed toward his real home. Michael Olise, 25 years old. Today he's one of France's rising stars, one of the best wingers on the planet at Bayern Munich. But this man's background is one of the most tangled stories in modern football. Born in London, so technically English. His father is Nigerian, his mother a French woman of Algerian descent. He had 4 national teams to choose from: England, Nigeria, Algeria, France. Out of these, Nigeria wanted him most. In 2021, they officially called him up and put his name on the list. But Olise's response was odd. He gave no answer at all. He ignored the call and basically ghosted Nigeria. That coldness fits his personality. Off the field too, he's known as quiet, distant, and calculated. Even England grew tired of his indecision and never gave him a strong invitation. In the end, France stepped up. Word has it Thierry Henry's constant push convinced him. Here's the interesting part. Out of his 4 options, France was actually the one he had the weakest connection to, yet he picked the strongest team. Nigeria chased him for years. Algeria wanted him too, but he sat back and chose the strongest flag. This wasn't an emotional call. It was a cold, calculated move. The next name, when deciding, wasn't up against a country, but against his own brother. Désiré Doué, 21 years old. PSG's young star, the kid who lit up the stage in a Champions League final, one of the brightest talents in the world. But his story has something no other player has. His decision wasn't against a country, it was against his own brother. The Doué family has Ivorian roots but raised their kids in France. Désiré and his older brother Gela grew up in the same room, both products of the Rennes Academy. They ate at the same table, played on the same pitch, chased the same dream. Then their paths split. The older brother, Gela, accepted Ivory Coast's call and chose his roots, wearing that shirt at the Africa Cup of Nations. The younger brother, Désiré, chose France and is heading to the 2026 World Cup. 2 brothers, same parents, now playing for 2 different continents. One went back to the heart of Africa. The other chose the strongest team in Europe. Maybe one day they'll even face off, one in a France shirt, the other in an Ivory Coast shirt. Désiré's choice is clear. Not roots, but the summit. The next name angered not just one country, but an entire nation, because he abandoned the country that raised him at the very last moment. Jamal Musiala, 23 years old. Today he's Germany's biggest star, the genius of Bayern Munich. But very few remember this. This kid was an England project from the ground up, and Germany stole him right out of England's hands. Born in Stuttgart, he moved to England at 7 and came up through Chelsea's academy. England saw him as their future. He played every youth level from under 15 to under 21, captained them, wore the number 10, and formed a brilliant partnership with his close friend Jude Bellingham. Then Germany stepped in. Word has it Coach Nagelsmann jumped on his Bayern transfer and met privately with the player and his mother, promising him a guaranteed starting spot. While Southgate just told him to wait his turn, Musiala decided overnight he left England and chose Germany. The English press called it the robbery of the century because they'd lost the kid they spent years developing right when it was time for him to play. The only difference was one coach saying, "Wait, the next name never denied his roots, but he only remembered them through money and gave his heart somewhere else." Ousmane Dembélé, 29 years old. Today, he's the best footballer on the planet, the 2025 Ballon d'Or winner. But his connection to Africa runs far deeper than you'd think. His father was born in Mali. His mother comes from a close-knit immigrant family with Mauritanian and Senegalese roots. As a kid, Dembélé grew up playing football in the streets of Mali and Mauritania with his relatives. Africa isn't some distant story for him. It's his family. But he chose France and won the World Cup in 2018, and what happened after is the interesting part. Word has it he visited poor villages in his mother's homeland of Mauritania, donated large sums, had a mosque built, and spent his holidays there. He never denied his roots. In fact, he embraced them fully. Yet the people of Mali and Mauritania kept asking the same question. "You give us your money, but why not your talent?" Because they wanted to be proud of him not through his wallet, but through their own shirt on the pitch. He opened his heart and his wallet to Africa, but gave his talent to France. He sang the anthem for a different flag. The next and final name was set to become the new legend of an entire nation. But he kept them waiting for years and, in the end, wiped them out with a single move. Rayan Cherki, 23 years old. Today he's one of France's talented midfielders playing at Manchester City. But for Algeria, he wasn't just a player. He was supposed to be a savior. Born in Lyon, but fully Algerian on both sides. Algerian football gave him a special title, the third great Algerian genius after Zidane and Benzema. When he was only 16, Algerians were already painting his name on walls, waiting for him like a legend. Word has it, during the 2026 qualifying process, the federation promised he'd be the absolute leader of the team. But Cherki gave no clear answer, saying he needed more time to think. He kept Algeria waiting for years. What he was really waiting for was a call from France. After a strong season at Manchester City, when France opened the door, Cherki wiped out Algeria in a single move. The Algerian press didn't forgive him, going after him directly. Just like Zidane and Benzema, he used us only as a stepping stone. Because this was a nightmare on repeat, they kept losing their biggest talents to the same country, France. An entire nation waited for him as the new Zidane. But he went where Zidane went, straight to France. The next and final name went to the same place. And he's the biggest of them all. Kylian Mbappé, 28 years old, the last and biggest name on this list. Today he's France's captain, one of the best footballers alive, a World Cup champion. But very few know this, Mbappé almost never wore the France shirt at all. His father, Wilfried, was a Cameroonian immigrant with ties in Cameroonian football. Before Kylian had even broken through, his father tried to get his son into the Cameroon national team. But here's where things got strange. Word has it an official at the Cameroon Federation demanded a bribe to include Kylian in the squad. Wilfried got angry and shut the door. Right after, the France youth team opened theirs, and the rest is history. World champion in 2018, a legend. If that bribe hadn't been demanded, Mbappé would today be wearing a Cameroon shirt, not a France one. And here's the striking truth. Out of the 8 names in this video, 5 chose France. Mbappé, Olise, Doué, Dembélé, Cherki. France collects talent not from one nation, but from an entire continent. The strongest national teams are built from the children other countries lost. So, which player made the right call, and who made the biggest mistake? Drop your favorite betrayal in the comments.